Hi, and welcome to Acting Sessions. I'm your host, Marco DiGeorge, and I am the co-founder and instructor at Truthful Acting Studios. We're a acting conservatory located in Orlando, Florida. And from time to time, we like to come on and talk about different topics as it relates to the industry, as it relates to being an actor, either working in film, television, or on stage, and also the whole process. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the foundation, one of the foundational things we work on when we're training. So first, if you're new to acting sessions, if you're live with us today, we have a live chat. And you can absolutely type anything into the chat, communicate with us. Our administrator is Samantha DiGeorge. She'll be on as well and be communicating with you. But if you have any questions, I'd like this to be an interactive session. So if you have any questions as we're going through, by all means, please put them in the chat, and I will do my best to get to them as I can. For those of you who are with us on YouTube Live, same thing. If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat, and I will get to those. Hopefully, I'll try to get to as much as I can before the end of the session. And hello to everyone from around the world. It's good to have you on with us today. So, as I was saying, today what I really want to do is I want to talk about one of the foundational aspects of learning how to be an artist or learning how to be an actor, and that is building your confidence. Now, to me, this is essential as a human being. It's important, just as a human walking around, that we build our confidence, meaning our self-image and our self-worth. Because, first of all, as a human being, we all strive for this thing called happiness, right? We all want to feel good about who we are and what we're doing. At the same time, as an actor, one of the things that's asked of us, whether we're on stage or in front of the camera, is that we explore the deeper parts of ourselves, meaning explore our vulnerability, explore our emotions, explore our deepest truths, and then allow that to showcase within this thing we call character. But in order to do that, in order to really go down into your deeper truths, into the deeper parts of yourself, we first need to have access, actually, as the human being, to those deeper parts of ourself. And that's something that goes in with this thing called confidence. Because the lack of confidence, or something we call self-confidence, can get in the way of that. Self-confidence is the worry or the fear of how others around us view us. So when we're self-conscious, we're worried that we might be viewed in a negative light. And so it's important for us to do that, because while we're acting, whether we're on stage or in front of the camera while we're acting, if we're focused over here, if we're focused on ourselves and worried about how others are perceiving us, we won't be able to be outward focused and in this moment of the scene. We won't be truly immersed in that moment. And therefore, we won't allow ourselves to give the best presentation, the best performance that we can. So confidence is a really, really, really big issue. And then also in life, many of you may understand or know or have felt this, that in life as well, when you don't feel confident, you don't take as many risks or do the things sometimes that you really, really want to do. And so in order to get yourself to take those risks, do what you want to do, we have to build that confidence. But it's not an easy hurdle to do. And it actually, I'm reminded of a quote that kind of sums this up, and then I'll talk about it a little further as well. And the quote is simply, every time we choose safety, we reinforce fear. So I have one of my main topics that I talk about with new actors, and I have it available for all of you if you're interested in it. Actually, if you go to our website and you look at our digital courses, I have a free one. The free digital course it's called Introduction to Truthful Acting Online, but within that free course, there's something called Artistic Exploration and the Duality of the Human Psyche. Well, the duality of the human psyche is a very important lesson to understand just as a human being. And I'll summarize it here, but I really encourage you to go and watch the full thing. But basically, there are two parts that make up who we are. The first part, and when I say make up who we are, your psyche, meaning the voices in your head, the parts of you that reflect back, your self-image, those type of things. The first part is what we call the logical mind. The logical mind, it's your thought, it's your logical thought. It's the part of you that helps navigate through life every single day, every single moment of every single day. We have this thing called logical thought. Well, the logical thought is also your fear center. That's the part of you that creates fear and is looking out for your safety. So your logical mind is always looking out to keep you safe, to keep you alive. So it's part of our intuitive nature. It's built into our DNA. It's primal. And that's part of who we are, and that's a big part of who you are. If you've ever worried about anything, if you're ever even self-critical or judgmental about things, if you're ever very cautious or fearful, if you feel anxiety, all of those things come from the logical mind. And then on the other side, right, that's part of the duality, that's half of it. The other half of who we are is something we call the emotional core. Now, the logical mind is up here in our head, and the emotional core is more down here, almost like in your stomach areas where you feel it. So if you think about emotion, when you feel emotion, it starts down deep inside of you and then ventures upward. So it starts like, well, let's call it your stomach, because that's about where it's at. It starts there and then it moves upward until it expresses out basically through your face and your upper body. So emotion is also who we are, meaning your emotional core, or what we call the love center, is a big, big part of who you are and helps navigate through each and every moment of your lives, including this one right now. You're feeling something. So you feel each and every moment. You feel your experiences. And the feelings you have toward your experiences then go in and help you create those memories and the analysis of that, right? So the logical mind grabs onto how do you feel about this moment right now, and then it puts it and it computes it and decides whether this is safe or not. Meaning safe or not for you, safe or not for you to continue. Is it going to hurt you in any way, or is it okay for you? Is it going to help you? And so those are the two sides. So fear, what Sherry Huber is telling us with this quote, every time we choose safety, we reinforce fear. That's because safety is fear. Safety is comfort. It means working from something that we know will keep us safe. We know it will not harm us. So that comes from the logical mind. So every time we choose to honor fear, which comes from the logical mind, we reinforce that fear. We give it more information and say, well, you chose the path of fear. You chose to not do this thing because you were afraid of it. Therefore, it must be an actual threat. Now, what does this have to do with confidence? What does any of this have to do with confidence? Well, the thing about confidence and self-worth, self-image, all of those things, the thing with that is it has to do more with your emotional core. Who you truly are comes from your emotional core, meaning it comes from how you feel about things. Your fear center, or your logical mind, is not who you truly are. That's just kind of an onboard navigation system. It's your AI. It's your built-in artificial intelligence, so to speak, where it's like, because it's built like a computer. And it helps you navigate through life. It helps you navigate through moment to moment to moment to do the best thing for you. But self-confidence. Okay, so let's come back to that. So now that we have basically a very, very simple understanding of all of that, where does self-confidence comes in? So let's say you really want to do something, and put it in acting terms. Let's say you really wanted to go to an audition, Well, let's say you really wanted to take a class. I have many actors that actually talk to me after they sign up for one of my classes and they come and they take one of my classes. They say, I've wanted to take this class for 5 years and I've always backed out. I've always had an excuse of why I didn't take it. And most of that is fear. So this is a very common thing. It's like you want to take an acting class and you want to sign up. That's your desire. That's coming from your emotional core. A desire. You want to. You feel like you really want to do this. But then as it gets closer, meaning as the date to start class becomes closer, we decide not to do it. Just like there's an audition you really want to go on, and as that audition date gets closer, we then decide not to do it because of the fear. The fear, which is anxiety. So let me just point that out quickly too. Fear is anxiety, meaning anxiety, the definition of anxiety, which we're all very familiar with that feeling. The definition of anxiety is the feeling of fear. So when we become anxious, meaning we have this, like we start shaking, you feel like you feel very tense, right? We all know what fear is. You feel that sensation. All you want to do in that moment is get it to stop. But it's working against your desire. Your desire is to take this class. Your desire is to go to this audition. But because the logical mind doesn't know if it's going to be a safe thing for you to do, it needs to protect you and say, well, I don't know if this is going to be safe, so it could be a threat. Therefore, since it could be a threat, I'm going to put fear, right? So it releases fear or anxiety into your body and puts you on a heightened state of alert, which is what fear is. Fear is simply a heightened state of being. That's it. It's a release of adrenaline into your body, which then for a short period of time heightens your senses, your 5 senses. That's what fear is. But it's because all 5 of your senses are heightened at the same time, it's an overwhelming feeling. But that's why you shake, because your sensation of touch, your physicality gets heightened, but your sight gets more acute, your hearing is more acute, your taste, your smell, all of those things are heightened, and that's so you can navigate the world around you in a better way, just for a short period of time, so you can escape the threat and get to safety. That's what fear is. But it's an overwhelming feeling. And so when we feel this fear, all of a sudden, we want to pull back and we want to retreat. It's called fight or flight, right? The fight or flight response is we want to remove the fear and get to safety. It's built into us. It's part of our animal instinct, our primal instinct, meaning all human beings have this. So because of all of that, we want to do something, like take a class, go to an audition, or whatever it is. You want to do something. But because it's an unknown thing, we feel fear. If, for any reason, right, we want to do this, and then we decide not to because of the fear, if the fear is so overwhelming, we pull away, and then we do something else. We decide not to do the audition, not to take the class. Well, then we've just negated how we felt. We said it's more important to honor the fear than it is to honor how we feel. Okay, it's more important, right? In that moment, it was more important to honor the fear than it was to honor our desire. And in that moment, in that decision, we feel bad about ourselves. We have just created a moment. We've just created an experience where we chose fear over desire. So we don't like that feeling. Our emotional core doesn't like that because our desire says we really, really want to do something. We really wanted to do this. But because of fear, we chose not to. Now, we have a term for that. Anytime we're facing fear and we don't do something because of fear, meaning we run away because of fear, we call that cowardice. Right? We're retreating to safety. That's what we're doing. We're retreating to safety. And sometimes in life, that's a very good thing. It's a good thing to retreat, right? If you have an actual physical danger in front of you, yes, you retreat to safety. These are reasons we don't simply just walk out in front of traffic, right? We're very cautious of fast-moving cars because, sure, there is an actual danger to it. If a wild animal is around, right, we maybe go inside or get away from that wild animal, because there's an actual danger. It's like, okay, so there's some things in life where this does come into play. And it's why we have those primal instincts to begin with, because it's built into our DNA from, 1,000 years ago. But when it relates to desires that there's really no danger to, like being an actor, being on stage, going to a class, going to an audition, all of those things, when we apply this same concept and we choose not to do something because of the fear, all of a sudden we feel like a coward. That feeling goes into our negative self-image, our negative self-worth, because our feelings, which is really who you are, it's down here in your emotional core. That's who you are. You just negated it. You just told yourself that those feelings weren't good enough. Those feelings weren't accurate. And you chose fear. This is what creates the lack of confidence. This is what creates a negative self-image. This is what creates negative self-worth, are those types of decisions. Learning how to work through fear is one of the most important things you can do as an artist and as a human being. When you honor yourself, like let's say you wanted to, again, these are very simple things where nothing really bad is going to happen to you, nothing's going to harm you. So going to an acting class, for example. Let's say you went to the acting class and it didn't work out. Let's say you went to the audition and it didn't work out. You would still feel better about that than not going at all. Think about that. Because our fear is that if we go to it and it doesn't work out, that's going to somehow be bad to us. But if you went and it didn't work out, you would still feel better about that because you honored what you were feeling on the inside. You honored your emotional core, your love center. So we fueled our love center by honoring how we felt. Well, this goes well beyond just desires. This also goes into a place called emotion. So with emotion, this is also something that's we tend to shy away from. As an actor, we have to learn. We work on various sides of our craft. We work on like mental analytical, like how to really hone in our mind and our focus of being outward, our focus of working off the world around us. We work on those things. And one of the other, we're actually two of the pillars on top of that are called psychological and then emotional. We have to work on our psychology and we have to work on our emotions. And as we work on our emotions, we realize that as a human being, most human beings around the world have been taught that emotions are bad, meaning the control of emotion is what you are after, is good, and the expression of emotion is bad. And we typically learn this. It's cultural. It's part of society. It could be part of just your own family, your friend groups, or your social groups. We learn not to express, and we learn this from a young age. We learn that when you feel something and you express it, that maybe it might not be the proper environment in early education, for example, or maybe even at home with family or wherever you are with friends. We possibly have been made fun of by learning, by expressing emotion, been picked on for expressing emotion. Maybe even yelled at or disciplined for expressing emotion when the people around us didn't feel it was the right environment. So because of that, we learn to shut down our emotion. Now, we can't stop feeling. But what we do is the logical mind builds up a defense to stop the expression of it. And it's right here, it's in our upper chest. We build up what's called a block, because emotion starts in our emotional core, which is right around your stomach area. It's down there, and it moves upward. And what we do is through tension, we actually constrict our upper body and block the emotion before it can express. It expresses through our face and our head. So it comes up, bam, and we stop it. And then we push it back down and we repress it, meaning we store it for later. Emotion is then stored in your muscles, believe it or not. So we learn how to do this at a very early age. And we learn through all of these negative experiences, somehow we equate emotions to being bad. But emotions are who you are. Your feelings, your emotional core is who you are. But every time you feel something and you don't honor it and allow it to express, once again, we're back to telling ourselves we're not good enough. What we're feeling is not enough for this moment. That's what we keep telling ourselves. So, this is important to understand, because the reason we didn't allow the emotion to express was because of fear. So we're back to the fear again. We had an emotional response, which is who you are in this moment. It wants to, everything inside of you wants to express. Everything. So it wants to express. And then all of a sudden, because of fear, because we're afraid of what other people are going to think, we stop it and we don't express it. So we pulled back because of fear. So the part of you, which is who you are, the part of you, which is the true part of who you are, all of a sudden gets stopped, and you're telling yourself that who you are and what you're feeling is not right for this moment. We're adding to the lack of confidence. We're adding to a negative self-image. We're adding to a negative self-worth. We're adding to that. We're adding to the feeling of not being good enough. Okay, so all of that comes into play. All of that. So what do we do about it? How do we deal with this? Well, in my acting training, I have several semesters. We go through a bunch of different exercises. One of the main things I work on with actors is how to honor who you truly are. How to allow yourself to express that emotion. That's all very, very important. We start by, it's difficult, but I actually bring our actors to a long process. You have to start by, anytime you feel something, you must allow it to express. Now, I understand we can't allow ourselves to express every feeling in every moment. But what I mean by that is, let's say you're out and you're publicly and you feel something. Let's say you feel sadness, or you feel anger, or you feel whatever that is. Instead of pushing it down and not letting it express ever, just hold it in just for a moment and allow yourself to get to a safe location, whether it's your car, whether it's your home, whether it's the restroom, wherever it is, and then allow yourself to express it. We must honor what we're feeling. We must honor what we're feeling. This is very important. So I'm not saying to express everything at every moment. If you're at work, or if you're at school, or if you're at, sometimes it's not the appropriate place to just have a full expression. But you must have that expression at some point during that day. Allow yourself to let it out. And know that that feeling is part of you. It's not bad to feel anything. Right? Your emotions are yours. It's not bad to feel them. Instead, we must learn to start honoring them. So building a positive self-image is key to acting, but it's even more key to to be a better human being, a more functioning human being. And so we start in these ways. Now, the other thing to understand, though, is because it's like, well, I have two voices in my head. I have my emotional core, which my desires, which is speaking for me, my desire, my love center. But then I also have my logical mind, which is also speaking. So which one should I be listening to? Here's something else we have to realize, and something else I teach my students. The voice in your head, your logical mind, that voice is not your voice. Meaning, the voice that you hear when you're feeling something, your desires, your love center, anytime you have a desire to do something, anytime you have a passion, anytime you get excited about something, that's your love center. That's actually who you are. The voice in your head, that is the voice of caution, the voice of, most of the time, negativity, criticism, judgment, that's not your voice. What happens with the logical mind is it retains all of the moments from your past that you've been told something negative. Anytime you've been criticized for an emotion or criticized for something you've done, you've been ridiculed or made fun of, or any of those things that have happened, maybe disciplined, anytime that happens, your logical mind takes that and says, oh, we don't want this to happen again, so let's build a defense so it doesn't happen again. And that defense is when something similar is happening in the future, it creates a defense of fear. It says, oh, no, this is danger. The last time we did this, someone made fun of us, so let's not do it again. Let's not go in that direction. The logical mind is doing that. So what it does is it reflects back to you the things that have been told to you in your past, but it reflects it back to you in your own voice. That's the voice you hear in your head. It's in your voice, but it's not you saying it. Your logical mind is reflecting back something someone else told you in your past. It could be someone, it could be a singular person, it could be multiple people that have told you similar things that it's kind of joining together. But it's not your voice. It's not actually you that criticizes yourself. It's other people. This is one of the most important things that you can start doing. Anytime you have a negative self-thought, anytime you're criticizing yourself, anytime you're saying, I'm not good enough for this, or anytime you're saying, oh, I'll never be able to do that, you stop and ask yourself, whose voice is actually in my head? Who's actually telling me that? Who told me that in the past? Now, sometimes it's going to be very clear. You'll know exactly where you heard it from. A parent, a teacher, a friend, so to speak. Who knows? It could be somebody in your past. It's going to be very clear, yes, I heard it from that person all the time. That's the voice you're hearing. Other times it won't be as clear. And that's okay. It won't be as clear. What I would do is I would write down whatever that negative self-thought is. I would write it down and reflect on it. Or you might reflect on it for a day. It might be a week. It might be a month. But reflect on it and see, where have I heard that before? And it could be, wow, I heard that all the way through early education. Or I heard that in high school. Or I heard that in this work environment, or I heard that at home every single day, whatever it was. But you need to identify where the voices are coming from. Once you can do that, you can put it arm's length, right? You can separate out yourself from these negative voices. Meaning you can make it external from yourself, and you can know that it's not you that feels that way about yourself. It's not you that has the lack of confidence. It's other people that had the lack of confidence in you. For whatever reason, other people did. We're just reflecting it back. Once you realize it's not yourself that feels that way about you, you begin feeling better almost immediately. You begin feeling better about yourself. Because you realize, wow, I don't feel that way about myself. I'm not the one that doesn't think I can't do this. I actually think I can do this. I feel my emotional core, my love center thinks I can do this. It's these other people. And then we can begin working through that. We can begin working through and saying, okay, so now I just need to work through the fear of others, which is much easier to do. Believe it or not, working through the fear of other people's opinions is easier than working through the fear of your own opinion. We have to separate that out. So it's something you can start doing. This is something you can start doing right away. You can start doing, like even today, just, anytime you have any sort of negative self-thought, go ahead and just start jotting it down. Make a journal of these things and start identifying whose voices are in your head. We all have this. This isn't, you're not abnormal for having these fears and these thoughts. Every single human being is programmed the same way. So we all have this inside of us. People that have confidence have worked through this. And the way you have to do this, it's not that we eliminate fear, because we can't do that. It's half of who we are, the duality of the human psyche, right? We're emotional core and we're the logical mind, and hopefully in balance. We're in equal proportions. We need the logical mind to navigate, to grow, to keep us safe, to keep us on track. We need the logical mind. It's very important to us. We need our fear. Our fear is a very good thing. Believe it or not, your anxiety is a very good thing. Now, your anxiety out of proportion can be overwhelming, and that's where it gets difficult. But your anxiety in normal proportion is a very, very good thing. So we need those things. But we need to get ourselves in balance. In balance, meaning half emotional core, half logical mind. So by writing these things down and starting to identify them, this can help you on that path. And then we have to work through it. So as I was saying, is we don't eliminate fear. Instead, we get that back in balance and we learn how to work through it. Working through fear is called courage or bravery. We feel good when something frightens us and we do it anyway. This is why things like the horror industry, with horror villains like Halloween or Friday the 13th, we love this whole genre. The Saw movies, there were so many of those. We love that genre because we actually, as human beings, enjoy feeling fear. We enjoy it. It makes us feel alive. But we also enjoy working through it. We don't enjoy the type of fear that is paralyzing and we run from it, but we enjoy the fear that we work through. So that's why that whole genre exists. Haunted houses. We enjoy doing that. Whether we watch them or we explore them in person, we enjoy doing that. Extreme sports, skydiving, mountain climbing, water skiing, all of the things, racing cars, anything that is kind of an extreme, gymnastics, all of that. All of that is pushing ourselves to the extreme. It's actually working through the fear. It's incorporating the anxiety, but in a positive, healthy way. So that's when I'm teaching actors, I teach them not to eliminate fear. That's not what confidence is. Confidence is the feeling that you can work through it and you can work through it effectively. That's what confidence is. It's not the absence of fear. It's the ability to work through it. And the only way out is through, meaning when I teach actors, I tell them, look, we're going to go through a tunnel. We're going to start here and we're going to go all the way through. We can't go around it. We can't circumvent it in any way. The only way to get to the other side of this tunnel is to work through some very difficult fears in the beginning. But okay, so now, why is it so difficult? Why do we have so much fear being an actor? Well, the number one fear of human beings is public speaking. What I'm doing right now is the number one fear of human beings, standing on a stage, standing in front of others, standing in front of a camera, and allowing yourself to truthfully present something, meaning be yourself, honestly be yourself, and then truthfully present something. It's because we're worried about the opinions of what everyone else around us is thinking. We're so focused on that. Well, as a teacher, I'm teaching every day, but still, every time I stand up in front of a class, sure, there's anxiety to it every single time, but it's anxiety that I love. Meaning it doesn't stop me, it doesn't paralyze me and make me want to go the other way. It's the type of anxiety that I'm working through the fear, and I love doing it. I love teaching. I love acting. I love directing. I love all of those things. So if the number one fear is public speaking, we first have to work through that as actors. But think about what acting is. Acting is the extreme sport of public speaking. Because not only are we standing up on a stage in front of an audience, standing up in front of a camera, which is still also in front of an audience, which is the crew, and also it's being recorded, but we also have lights on us, meaning all of the focus is on us. On film, we have a camera recording everything we do. People are watching us live. And then we're also asked to be the most raw, vulnerable version of ourselves in that moment. That's what we do as an actor. We're the most raw, vulnerable version of ourselves. So we have to now allow our masks to drop, something we call social masks. We have to peel those away and allow the most raw, vulnerable, emotional versions of ourselves to come out. So it's a heightened experience of public speaking. We can't hide behind anything. This thing called character that we play is sometimes we think of a character as, I'm going to pretend, I'm going to put on a mask and pretend to be somebody else, and that's not what acting is. Acting is not of a putting on of masks to become a character. It's a peeling away of your own social masks, layer by layer, to reveal the character which is deep down inside of you. It's at your most raw, vulnerable state. It starts with your emotions. That's where every single character you'll ever play starts. And then we layer things on top, right? We build things for the character layered on top of your essence, layered on top of your emotional core. So it takes confidence to do that. Now, but it takes, it can take years. To be honest, it can take years. It can take a few years to really, for an actor, to go from maybe being an introvert and very anxious to then being able to open up and allow that to come out. It's okay if you're an introvert. Most actors are. Most performers are. It's okay if you're an introvert. We don't have to change that. But we do sometimes as introverts, we allow ourselves to give preference to fear. So that's what we have to work on, that aspect of it. So this is why acting is so difficult. It's not the skill or the technique of it. There are skill and technical layers, and we do add those to it, the skill of acting. But the artistry of acting is about your confidence. It's about your self-worth. It's about you honoring who you truly are and then allowing it to expose so the world can see it. That's what the great actors do, time and time again. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So this is where it starts. Building your confidence, the first thing, understand, you don't have a negative self-image from your love center. It's only from your logical mind. So begin immediately writing down. Anytime you have a negative thought about yourself at all, whether you feel you can't do something, you feel you're not good enough, whatever that is, even if it's, I don't like the way I look, you need to figure out, write that down, and start the exploration of where did that come from? Where did I learn that? You learned that from somewhere. You don't believe that. You weren't born with that. You learned that from somewhere. So it's important for you to be able to start navigating through that. And then secondly, give yourself a time during the day where you honor everything you feel and you allow it to express. You can do it privately, you can do it safely, meaning in a safe, controlled environment, but allow yourself to express your emotions. Your emotions, again, are who you are. Both of those things are the starting points of building an incredible amount of self-confidence for you going forward. And then lastly, and then I'm going to get to some questions. Lastly, we do this in our studio, and it's something I highly recommend. And it's so simple that it almost doesn't seem like it will do anything, but it does. And we have these 3 words. First day of class, I'll ask all my actors to write down these 3 words. I'm going to put them on the page and just write them down. And I say, write these down wherever that you, like wherever you can see them daily, whether it's on your phone, on your mirror, in your bathroom, in your car, wherever it is, but you need to see it daily. And the words are, I am enough. That's it. I am enough. And from there, I want you to read those. I want you to read them, and if you can, say them out loud every single day. Now, it's going to feel silly at first, especially if you're not used to doing things like this. It's going to feel silly, and you may not even, you may like shrug it off or not believe it or not even understand why you're doing it. But confident people, confident actors feel the truth of I am enough. Because that's the truth. You are. You are. We just don't feel it because of the voices in our head. So these words, it's a small enough phrase, and it's a small enough action, even saying those words out loud, where your logical mind won't defend against it. It may not believe it. It may try to tell you that's not true, which again is not you saying that to yourself. That's somebody else. But you might hear that. You might say it, nah, that's not true. Okay. Say it anyway. Then tomorrow, do it again. And the next day, do it again. And the next day, do it again. Keep doing it. All of a sudden, a few weeks go by, and you're still saying it. And you start feeling it. It seeps in. The logical mind allows it in because it doesn't see it as a big threat, these 3 words, and it goes inside of you. And it starts developing. It starts developing. It's what we call the Trojan horse, right? It goes inside. Logical mind lets it in, and then now all of a sudden it starts growing and building from inside. And one day you'll say it, and maybe it's just as simple as you won't defend against it as much. Interesting. Another week goes by and you say it, and you actually feel a moment of, you know what, I am. That's a great thing. Keep going, keep going, keep going. This also will help build that confidence. So make a list of your negative thoughts and figure out who said them. Honor your emotions. Every single day, find a moment to honor your emotions and release them. And then, I am enough. That's the start right there. Building your confidence. Honoring who you are. Who you truly are at your emotional core, right? That person inside of you that I want you to let out. Who you truly are is magnificent and totally unique. That's what the world wants to see. As an artist, we don't want to see you be like anybody else. We want to see the uniqueness and the magnificence that is you. The artists that you love, it's because they're unique and magnificent. And they're not unique and magnificent because they did anything special. Meaning they weren't born differently. They don't have any more talent than you do. They just worked on building their confidence. They worked on allowing the world to see them for who they are. They allowed themselves to express. That's it. That's it. You can do it too. So make sure you start working on those things. All right, so let me look at, there were some questions that were submitted that I'd like to get to, and let's take a look at these. And the first is, how do I learn to feel confident so I can start acting? And that was a very interesting question because it wasn't, more confident within acting. It was to start acting. And this is one of those leaps of faith that I will say, because I so many of my students, after they join a class, they'll say, I've wanted to do this for so long. I just, was always afraid. So meaning they went through that delaying system of starting. The best way to build confidence is to take an acting class. It's one of the main things we work on in our conservatory is confidence, self-image. That's what we work on. Your psychology, your emotions. So we work on that directly. So the best way to do that is to just take a class, whether it's in a local theater, whether it's in, depending on where you're located around the world. In the bigger cities, typically there are acting classes in a school. If you're still in school, high school, university, any of those, you might still be able to take a class there. But take an acting class. If not acting, take some sort of artistic class, dance, music, anything that you can express, even art where it's the physical arts, painting, sculpting, any of the art forms will help you learn to tap in and become more expressive. So that's the best thing to do. It's difficult to begin acting without first learning how to act. There's an immense amount of training that needs to be done. So taking a class is probably the number one thing that I would recommend. And then I think it's the question we have in the chat, which I think is kind of similar, right? I just want to address it specifically, but I think it's kind of similar. It says, for someone just looking to get into acting, do you recommend working on confidence and determining who you are prior to taking classes? Or do you think classes can help with that? I think classes can help with that. Now, it needs to be the right type of class. What I would always say is always meet your instructor prior to signing up for a class. I think that's very important because I've taken acting classes in my history, and some of the instructors were great and some of the instructors not so great, meaning the class environment was more competitive. It didn't really help my confidence. It got in the way of it. But then other classes, because of the instructor and how they taught, really helped my confidence. So make sure before you take any sort of class, get to know the instructor, get to know their style of teaching, see if it fits with you. And then, yes, a class can definitely help doing that. But at the same time, please work on yourself as well. You can do both at the same time. Next question that's up here. So repressing your emotions can be exhausting. And when it gets too much, all those emotions explode. Yes, that is true. How does an actor work through a repressed emotion? Okay, great question. We work on that directly in our program, actually. So repressed emotion, which all human beings have some form of, really the thing that varies is the amount. But repressed emotion, so anytime we go through something in our lives, we feel about whatever that is. But when we go through extreme situations in our life, extreme experiences, we have a greater feeling or emotion for that. So let's say you went through something traumatic when you were younger in your life. It doesn't always have to be when you're younger, but this is probably the easiest example is either early childhood trauma or soldiers of war trauma, those type of things. Anytime you go through some sort of trauma and you don't process the emotion. Now, trauma could be a death in the family. It could be some sort of abuse, bullying. It could be in a number of different ways. But you go through something traumatic. If you don't fully express the emotions of that trauma, we cover it, we block it, and then we store it for later or repress it. Repressed emotion will stay stored indefinitely. It stays stored until you express it. It could be 2 decades later, and it will still store itself until it comes out later. So the way to work through repressed emotion, there's a couple things you can do. The first is counseling. There are licensed therapists and counselors that will help you work through that in a very safe way. Safe meaning they can guide you to access those repressed feelings and emotions and then give you ways to express it. The next are the things that I was talking about. Figuring out who the voices are in your head, allowing yourself a safe space and freedom and permission to express any emotion that's inside of you, and then I am enough. Those things actually will begin to access repressed emotion, and you just allow it to come out. Because yes, the more we store inside of us, it's like a pressure system. We put ourselves under immense pressure, and eventually it can blow up out of us, meaning all of those emotions can come out and towards somebody that isn't deserving of especially negative emotions. So it's very healthy as a human being to let those out. So if there's someone you could talk to, and you can do that. And actually, one of the other questions that I had that came through, are there any books that can help in that? And I actually have right here, there's a book called The Artist's Way. Okay, this book right here, The Artist's Way. This is what it looks like. And it's An Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. And it's by, down here, Julia Cameron. You can find this online or your local bookstore. You can find a used copy. It's the first book. There's a whole program to this, and they have workbooks and other things. You really don't need all of that. You really just need the first book. It's called The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. And what Julia Cameron has done in this book, she's a writer, and what she's done in this book is she's created kind of a 12-week program where you go through week by week and you work on things that blocks you might have built, how to identify them, and then how to possibly start uncovering them and working through them. It's a really, really, really great book. It's a great program. It's something you can repeat over and over and over again. There are amazing lessons in there. We recommend this for, if you're starting our studio, we recommend this to all of our students to get this book and go through it. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. Can't recommend it enough. The Artist's Way. That's an amazing tool to help you through what you're feeling and help you through working with on your self-confidence. So let me see. Question. How can you get over your social anxiety to take your first step into starting an acting career? Thank you for that question. It's a great question. And so many actors, as I said earlier, so many actors are introverts. Artists tend to be introverts. We would think because they're acting that they're extroverts, but they're really not. Most actors are introverts. And many actors are introverts with social anxiety. So you're not alone with that. The best thing I can tell you to do is to take that leap of faith and take a class. I know it's difficult, but especially with social anxiety, but push through that fear to get into a class. Now try to find a class that is inclusive. Try to find a class, again, as I said earlier, talk to an instructor. Make sure you gel with that instructor. You always want to feel comfortable with whoever is your instructor, whoever's guiding you. You want to feel comfortable with that. But if you can get yourself into a class, that's the best way, because now you have a group of people that you're with, that you're surrounding yourself with. You're in now a group that is all working toward the same thing. You're working on the same art, and you're working together. You're working in what we call an ensemble in that same direction. So that's really the best thing to do. If the class has any auditing, like where you can sit in, you can do that. At our studio, we don't do auditing, but what we have like open houses. And then I have these free sessions. So you get to meet me and understand like who I am right away. At our open house, you get to see our studio, meet me, my other instructor at the studio, Rob Moss. You get to meet Samantha, right? You get to meet our team and gain maybe a comfortable level or a confidence level of, yes, I want to study there. That's a great, great, great way to do that. So that's something that you can work on. Okay. Okay, interesting. So Carlos asked me, address Carlos's question about a first-time director that is having doubts. So, I also teach at the local university as well, and I teach in the film program, and I teach directing, how to direct actors. And because, believe it or not, as directors, because sometimes we're, on the acting side of it, we're not thinking of what directors are going through, and we imagine that directors and the filmmakers or all of these people are extremely confident. and we're like, oh, that they know what they're doing and they have it all put together. And believe it or not, directors go through the same thing. I lead them through a journey where they can build confidence in themselves. And the biggest thing about directing, it's very similar to acting. It's just you're going to go out and you're going to do the best you can. That's it. As an actor, we go out and we do the best we can. As a human being, we go out and we do the best we can. Let go of all of the negative voices in your head. Take all of the skills that you've learned, even as an actor, and just go and apply them. Trust your instincts. Trust your creativity in your process, and you'll be just fine. The biggest thing, Carlos, is what I would say, make sure you treat everyone with respect, right? Have a very high integrity. Treat everyone well. Treat everyone appropriately. That's so important. And then, because that's a big deal for a director. Treat everyone with respect. Treat everyone appropriately. And then also, when I say appropriate, you want to, as a director, we always want to create a safe environment for our actors to play in. It's like creating a sandbox, right? Our actors are going to play in, metaphorically. And I want to make sure that as a director, my actors always feel very comfortable then to take risks for me on stage. And as an actor, you're going to want that too. You want to be with directors that you feel comfortable with to then take risks, emotional risks, or whatever it may be. So that's very important. And then Kevin, you're saying if you're asking me, am I a voice actor? I have done voice acting in the past. It's one of the things, the many things I've done. I teach voice as well. I teach how to voice act. I teach various levels of voice as far as how to use your voice. One of the most important things really that we work on. I work on voice with an actor all the way from the beginning all the way through. Learning how to use our voice to speak clearly, to enunciate, to speak with power, what we call resonance, all of those, right? To speak in that way is so important to your efficiency and effectiveness as an actor. So that's very important too. One of the things about voice acting, if there's anyone out there that wants to be a voice actor, the important thing to understand when we're doing voiceover acting, meaning for audiobooks, you're voicing over animation, or you're voicing over video games. Those are the main three areas. When you're doing any sort of voiceover acting, it's important to understand that it's voice over acting. We still need the acting experience. It's not a separate experience, meaning it's not, voiceover acting is not simply a skill or doing funny voices or anything like that. Voiceover nowadays, especially, I have a good friend of mine who's a voiceover director in Los Angeles, and he does very big video games, ones that you would know, and dubs movies, and also animation. So he's a big director, and he always says when he's looking, when I ask him, like, what do you look for in an actor to do a voiceover? Are you looking for someone with a command of their voice, or can do different, what are you looking for? And he says, I want the best actors available. The best actors will be able to do what I need. The ones that can access emotion, the ones that can bring truth, the ones that can do all of that. That's who I need as a video game voiceover actor, as an animated voiceover actor. So the misunderstanding or misconception of voiceover acting is that it's you don't need acting experience, it's just the technical layer, and that's just not true. It's the more acting experience you have, that's going to give you the leg up then to do these animated series or to do the video game voiceover. And at some point I'll do a session just on voiceover, and we can go in depth on that. And then lastly, this is probably the last question I can do. Do you need any special equipment to do voice acting? Well, you do need proper equipment to record your voice. So for example, I'm on a standard headset right now. It's a very good headset that I'm on, but it's still not good enough to do voiceover, to record voiceover. You would have to have just better microphones. There are better microphones. Like if you look under like podcasting microphones, things like that. I use Rode equipment, RODE. They're very good. So if you use certain, better quality microphones, then you have to have a program that can record it at a high quality, which they have out there. You just need to be able to record your voice very clearly, no background noise, in a very strong quality. That's really what you need to do voiceover. More and more actors are recording their voiceovers from home, meaning they create like a home studio. But computers nowadays, whether you have PC or Mac, computers can typically, there's programs on both that you can do. The microphones are very accessible, and you can do that. So again, if you look in the direction of podcasting, start doing some research there, you'll see some microphones and equipment that you would need. It's the same equipment we do voiceover with. So that's what I can tell you there. Wow. So, man, it's amazing how fast the hour goes. But I've really, really enjoyed spending it with you. There's contact information below. If you have any other questions, you can email us at info@truthfulacting.com. Samantha's the one that you will reach if you reach out. And same thing as if you call or text, you can text the number below as well. And again, you're going to reach Samantha there. If you have any other questions, anything you might want us to do in the future, any questions about our studio, we've released our what we call digital courses online too. And if you go to truthfulactingonline.com, you can also get there through our website. We have digital courses. Our first one, which is called The Foundations of Acting in Film, is now released, and we have an introductory price going on for that. It's a prepackaged course where you can download it, or you're viewing it online, you have access to it, and you can go through it on your own time. And it's with me, and I walk you through some of the basics of acting. But we also do something called artistic exploration, where I guide you through working on the self. So we'll absolutely continue working on the human being and working on your self-confidence. So that's available, and there's a free course available as well called The Introduction to Truthful Acting Online. It's not merely an introduction, it goes into the duality of the human psyche and artistic exploration in detail. And it's free. You just go to the site and sign up for it, and you have full access to it. So I would recommend that you do that if you want anything further. And then in addition, if you go to our YouTube channel, we have a ton of other sessions that are on there and other material that you can see, and that's all free and accessible to you as well. Until the next time, we'll be back in maybe about a month with our next session. I'll be announcing it soon, so be on the lookout, and I hope that you'll sign up for that one and be back with me on there. Thank you so much for being online with me today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.